And I was able to be calm in those moments. And I feel like everyone that has trauma, whatever level extent it is, we're all given a gift. And I feel like mine was discernment, being able to read people, meeting them where they're at, and reading a room.
Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by my man, Audley Stevenson, the Odd Man.
Greetings and salutations, folks. It's Audley Stevenson, and I'm back for another edition of the most audacious podcast the internet has to offer. Thank you so much for being here and joining me on the Audacious Living Podcast, where it continues to be our ongoing goal of helping our listeners live their best audacious lives ever. Welcome to episode 245 of the podcast, and we're thrilled to welcome Derick Johnson. He's a passionate life coach, fitness enthusiast who's dedicated himself to empowering others to live their best lives. Derick's journey from a challenging upbringing to finding purpose and strength has been truly inspiring, and his work resonates deeply with the values of the Audacious Living Podcast. And so join us as we delve into Derick's story and explore how his experiences and approach align with our mission of inspiring and encouraging that audacious way of living. So without any further ado, here's my conversation with Derick Johnson. Hey, Derick, thank you for taking time and hanging out with me here on the Audacious Living Podcast. It's an absolute pleasure. It's a treat. Thank you for doing this, my friend.
I appreciate you for having me, Audley. It's a pleasure being here. I'm excited to have a good quality conversation.
Absolutely. Like I said before we hit record here, it's really much about having impactful conversations that make a difference with people's lives. That's what this podcast has always been about, helping people live their bigger, better, bolder lives, if you will, the more audacious life. And so that's always been a focus. Certainly a big part of that, and something you would probably be able to speak to a little bit with is respects to overcoming those past challenges or things that occurred in our lives that potentially could debilitate us, knock us off course, or maybe change our trajectory. But you would know, and again, we all have personal experiences that we go through that we use those to sort of move forward. And maybe as a starting point, I've kind of given a little preface about you a little bit. Maybe as a starting point, we can get you to sort of talk about the work that you do and how you landed to the place that you are now.
Yeah, for sure. Great question. So long story short, I grew up as an Army brat. My father was U.S. Army for 25 plus years. He's a country boy, African-American from Mississippi. So he grew up on a farm. Work ethic was in the blood. My mother, she's German. So as a child, I lived in Germany because we were stationed there. And my mother has been a kindergarten teacher for over 40 years. So father, military, drill sergeant style. Mother, Germans are very gung-ho, get the job done. So both parents.
Interesting combination there.
Oh, yeah. So
I love it.
Work ethic, professionalism, OCD is in the blood. Attention to detail. If not, you're getting slapped across the head. So that was the upbringing there.
I love it.
But yeah, so seeing that both parents were always up early, being active with fitness to prepare for the day was always second nature. And as you know, kids do as they see, not as they're told. So all I saw was them wake up early, working out, always be the first at the office, first at the school, first in formation. So that was pretty much instilled into me. But on the flip side is that they were so focused on success and their career and becoming the best and helping others that on a personal level, on the family aspect, there wasn't really that much love, affection, all that of what I guess most children have or what most children need. But I feel like that was the cheat code for not getting what was needed at home. And that's what always gave me the inspiration to give what I was lacking to others, which was love, support, listening to people and all that. Right. And I feel like people that have a certain extent of trauma, like mine on my end, it was both parents were alcoholics, but it didn't affect their career. So only at night is when they would release trauma from the past or pain or emotions or whatever was going on. But for some reason, I always knew after the first few times it happened that it wasn't to me. It was more so through me, but not at me. It was more so I could see that they were not looking at their son. They were looking through him from whatever was going on. Gotcha. And I don't know where that came from, but I'm 11 years old when this was happening. And I just feel like the gift of discernment was what God gave me. And
Wow.
I was able to be calm in those moments. And I feel like everyone that has trauma, whatever level extent it is, we're all given a gift. And I feel like mine was discernment, being able to read people, meeting them where they're at, and reading a room. And it worked really well with fitness, with sports,
If
along
I
with the
can, sorry, I don't
military.
mean to cut you off, Dick. I don't,
No, for sure.
that you identifying that gift of discernment, that is significant, particularly at the age of 11 years old, to be able to do that, to not personalize it, to not take it on as your issue, to not make it
Yes.
about you. That is huge, and kudos to you for being able to still look past, still love, still to be able to forgive your parents, regardless what was going on in the moment at such a young age. I really I need you to acknowledge that, because that's a significant point.
I appreciate it. And I think it was also because at that age and all my teenage years, I was always absorbing stories of people that went through worse. I didn't pretend that my situation didn't exist.
Right.
I didn't try to act like it was better than it was, but I always counted my blessings. I said, one, I have both parents. Two, we had a beautiful house in the panhandle of Florida. We had a pool. We always had air conditioning. We had food, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm like, the blessings and the gratitude always outweighed the bad, and it never spilled into the next day. As in the next morning, they'd say, "Hey, where do you want to have lunch or breakfast at?" And the first couple of times, you're like, "You don't know what happened for 3 hours last night." Like I was cleaning up broken glass and just random like
Right,
just wild
right.
stuff happened at home. But I was like, "Hey, it is what it is." So I just roll with the punches. But I really quickly learned that fitness was my outlet.
Okay.
So if alcoholism or drugs or any other addictions run in somebody's family, if somebody chooses a positive outlet, whether it's faith, whether it's fitness, music, writing, they go all in. So I knew I had to go all in on something, and I didn't want it to be a vice. So I chose
Right,
fitness.
right.
And so growing up, I was a skinny kid. So I made a decision for myself to no longer get bullied at home, no longer get bullied in school. So I first transformed my body, which helped my mind. And then from there, my friends and teachers, they were like, "Hey, how'd you make this quick change in this year and a half?" And then I got certified as a trainer at 15, and I was just mature at that age. Like
Yep, yep.
when trauma happens, you got to grow up quick
You have
to
to be
learn how to
right.
do
No,
stuff.
you're right. You're
So
right.
it's like that was the only option. I
Right.
was like, I'm not going to be a victim. So from there, I fell in love with helping empower people, help them get in shape physically, mentally, overcome any food addictions or bad relationships with food. And then from there, the older I got, I really had a passion in helping somebody's mind. So what got me into life coaching was years or months after seeing a client that I worked with, if he or she lost the progress, I felt like I let them down
Mm.
because I didn't give them the mental tools. So when we were working together, they had the accountability, but afterwards, some of them would go backwards and go back to stage one. And then I said, I have to learn more, get more certifications and training on helping their mentality. And that's what inspired me to get into life coaching. So nowadays, I help people identify their patterns that are not serving them,
Huge.
and we get rid of those so they can thrive in more than just one area. Because some people, they crush it in sales, but they lack in their relationships,
Right.
or they have amazing relationship, but they lack in here. So we just try to make sure that they can evolve in every area so they feel they can breathe, they
Yep.
have control of things,
Yep.
and then they can show up better for their people that they love. So that's just my passion.
I love
And
it.
it all stems from childhood, not getting what I guess I wanted, but having the discipline, using that to my advantage, pain as fuel and fitness, and then being able to help others with it. And then nowadays help people on a deeper psychological level. Because I feel like when we have a positive impact in somebody's life,
Hmm.
it is a ripple effect. So I've
Yes.
just always wanted to have a positive ripple effect because I know what it feels like to be surrounded by the negative ripple effect. So wanted to flip that.
Well, you absolutely have. There's no doubt about that. You flip that on its head in a big, big way. And I love what you said. Pain is fuel, and to be able to use, that pain that you had to deal with at such a young age. Again, I take my hats off to you and say congratulations, because that is a big, big deal.
I
Oftentimes,
appreciate it.
the thing that holds people back is the pain, right?
Oh,
And
yes.
it's not something. It's as opposed. So I oftentimes use an analogy of sort of life of hills and valleys, right? And recognizing
Yes.
that life was a series of hill ups and downs. And when we're on the top of that hill, things are fantastic. We can celebrate. We're happy. We're free. We're feeling fulfilled. All these wonderful, wonderful things. But as a journey goes, sometimes we kind of get down, and sometimes we get in that down period. And for many people, that's where they stop. And they think this is their destination and this is where they're supposed to be, as opposed to recognizing it. Nope, it's still a forward progression. And the quicker you get out of that valley and the quicker you get out of that hole is the quicker you get back to the top of the hill to celebrate and be happy, experience the joy and fulfillment that we all want to have, we all crave. And so when when you hear your story, you talk about, yeah, okay, this is what I was going through, but I found that outlet. So in your case, it was fitness. And the part I love about that is it's not that, so you've taken that pain, you fueled it to help yourself, and then you turned around and helped other people, which is that's the part that just gets me excited, because it goes back to the positive impact that you talked about that you want to have on people's lives.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like when we're able to help others, we help heal our inner child, quote unquote. Mm-hmm. However somebody wants to look at it at a psychological level. So I know that he would be proud of the man I am now. Yeah. And then also now I try to make people proud of who they are, because they can positively impact the people in their life, and it trickles down. Their kids see them in the garage. They're going on a walk. They're cooking healthier. They just got a raise because of new levels of confidence, got a promotion. They're doing a presentation. They turned on their video on the team group chat because normally they have it off. Like all these different things that they may not tell people about, I always get a rush because I just ask my clients, like today's Friday morning, I text all my clients or message them in the app and say, what wins did you have this week? What wins did you have this week? I even ask my friends that. They're like, dude, nobody asked me that. And I'm just excited to hear people winning. I'm like DJ Khaled for all my friends. They're like, dude, you're always so hyped up. I'm like, dude, I just want to see my people win. If you're winning, I feel good. I'm human. I have bad mornings, bad days. But if I get a text seeing somebody got a win, whatever it is, doesn't matter if it's huge or small, a win is a win. I get excited. And then I do the same in a reverse. I'm like, hey, I'm excited about this. And if we can feed off of each other's positive energy, that's what it's all about.
Derick, I think the process of celebrating wins is huge, and cannot be understated how significant that can be in our own lives. And it's something certainly that I subscribe to, and stack my wins and collect them, and that, I think that leads into a natural conversation about gratitude. I can tell you for myself, anytime I've gone through a challenge or a person, whatever, I've always that silver lining that, a random stranger will tell you something out of the blue and you're like, oh, wow, thank you. Oh, you saw that. You noticed me. I didn't, right? And they don't know what I'm going through. They don't know what I'm experiencing, but they've come in that moment to give me that boost, that confidence, that reminder as to who I am and what I'm here and what I'm supposed to be doing. But gratitude is what gets us there, right? And the ability to be open. Because there's one thing to say, hey, thank you, I appreciate that. But to be able to look for things throughout our day. Because I truly believe that every single day, there are things that we have that we can be gratuitous for and thankful that we have and appreciative of. But you need that eye. I wonder if you can sort of talk about sort of the process of becoming more being able to recognize gratitude.
Yeah, for sure. Great question. So I always focus on the small things. So the first breath in the morning. Yes, the alarm goes off. Yes, they might not want to go to work. They might not want to make that call, get in traffic, get back on a video Zoom call, whatever they do. But if they can first take that deep breath when they're sitting in bed or when they stand up and just think into whatever they believe in, their ancestors, God, Allah, the universe, whatever they believe in, if they just are grateful for that breath.
Right.
And then from there, a thing that I've always done is my first glass of water in the morning, I close my eyes. And I use all my senses. I can feel it going down my throat all the way to my stomach. I feel how it tastes. I enjoy spring water. I recommend spring water to everyone. But in the moment, I try to use all my senses. I can feel my heartbeat. I hear my heartbeat. I envision my run to the gym or whatever my day is going to, I'm there present. So my challenge to people would be to your first breath and your first glass of water. If you can utilize all of your senses and practice this, it is a form of visualization and meditation, but it just gets you present in the moment before the thoughts of, oh, today's Friday, these bills are due. I have to send this email. I got 15 meetings today. I got calls. I got to take the kids here. Before the mind starts to do that, let's first have a moment for yourself. Be grateful for that breath. Be grateful for that clean glass of water, and just utilize your senses to be calm in that moment and say, I'm here with myself right now. I'm here with God. I'm here having a moment. I'm grateful. I'm calm. I'm confident. Here's my intention of the day. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. Perfect. They open their eyes, they go from there. If they want to continue to pray,
Right.
whatever their thing is. But having that level of presence and being present in the moment is so rare because everybody's distracted by apps, phones, laptops, family, dogs, kids, emails, neighbors, all this stuff. Everything and everyone wants your attention. But if you can just have a moment for yourself in the morning, you're going to feel calmer. So I would start with that, having that calmness and just showing that gratitude for the smallest things. So what I tell my friends and clients, I'm like, hey, before you complain, be grateful. You took a breath and you woke up. So don't complain about traffic, work, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, come on, man. Somebody right now is missing an arm and they would kill to be in your situation. Like we have $1,000 phone in our hand. We're on a $1,000 laptop. We got Wi-Fi. It's like, what are we really complaining about? Slow Wi-Fi and traffic.
Mm. No, you're right. No, you're right. There's always something that we could want more of, but when and that's if you're looking for it. But if you stop and look back, there's someone behind you that's wishing they were, had half of what you had.
Oh yeah.
There is much to be appreciative and grateful for. Um, uh, I wonder. So gratitude is a great way to we talk about using pain as fuel. Gratitude is
Yes.
a great way of doing that. Finding worthwhile hobbies, so you sort of or things, outlets, if you will, is another good way. Anything else that people can do to take those painful moments and help themselves with it?
Yeah, for sure. If they can mentor someone younger, not that it has to be everyone's career, but if there's a neighborhood kid down the road that they see he's struggling riding the bike because his father travels for work, just whatever the scenario is, if you could just mentor somebody, you meet them once a week, you give them a compliment, show them the ropes, whatever it is. We've
Right.
all been in that
Uh-huh.
position when we were younger. Somebody mentored us for free, just out of the kindness of their heart, and we appreciated it. If somebody doesn't have a mother or father figure, you could be that for them. But at the end of the day, every human, no matter their age,
Yep.
just wants to be heard and understood. We all just want to be heard and understood. If we don't have that, we start to feel lonely, and that's when all the emotions start happening and all that. But if you can make somebody feel that, because they might not feel that from their parents
Yeah.
or their grandpa or whoever, or they might not have those people in their life. But if you can just stop and listen, ask him or her how he's doing. But when you mentor somebody else,
Yep.
it makes you want to show up better. And then you feel good. They feel good. You feel good. And also you realize that that stressful moment or whatever is giving them anxiety or depression, it's not as big as they think it is, but also they feel better giving what they feel that they were lacking, but they also feel good giving an empowering energy, an empowering piece of advice or emotion to somebody else. And then they think of their pain less. They think of their anxiety less because when we're in it, and that's all the mind thinks about.
Yeah.
But when we can stop and just say, what can I do for somebody else? They
Mhm.
start to realize that they feel better and they're running on a high. Where again, we're not pretending their stress doesn't exist, but they have to flip it because just thinking about it is not going to change it. But if we help somebody else, the mind opens, you're in a positive frequency, and then they're
Yep.
like, wow, let me start doing this at work. You start to get more creative. But an hour ago, they were pissed off or
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah. No,
It's
you're right.
interesting how quick that switch can flip.
You're absolutely right, and I love the idea of that mind opening up, because when the mind opens up, the other thing it helps you be able to is learn lessons from that pain that you're
Oh,
experiencing.
yeah.
Right, like every situation that we go through, we're going to walk away with something that'll help us better if our mind is open to it. So I think it's another really significant point in all this.
Yeah, appreciate it. So if somebody can just choose two things in regards to gratitude and do them more frequently, because if we think about it, it might seem weird to some people, but if we zoom out, our brain automatically does the negative on autopilot. So we don't have to use any energy or any mental bandwidth to do that. Your brain's going to say, you got this bill due, this is this, you're not enough of this, you suck at public speaking. Like your brain does this all day long. Like you don't have to force it.
It's got everything we need, doesn't it?
Exactly. So it's working in reverse already for us. So I like to share that analogy and perspective because if it's already doing this on autopilot in reverse, we just have to train long term for our mind to focus on the positive, what
Yes.
we want, all the empowering things to say, you know what, it is capable to get the mind hyper focused on what I want and what I
Yes.
want to give. because I already have seen proof of years or decades of it doing everything in reverse. So
That's right.
I might as well start to train it so it can be in the positive light.
That's right. That's right. You know, it's funny. I think back when I started this podcast, I remember in the moment it was just sort of, I mean, it was during pandemic and, you know, things weren't great. And, you know, I was kind of going through my own struggles. And when I realized that I was in this depressive state, wasn't happy, I wanted to do something. And I thought, hey, you know, a podcast, I've done it many times and, you know, I've experienced with it. But I want to be very clear that I wanted a podcast was something that mattered to me. I didn't want to just get up and talk about whatever. And
Yes.
I went through a process, which is kind of sort of what we're talking about here. I went through this process where I look back and I was kind of looking at my successes, my victories, my accomplishments, all the things that got me to where I am. And I recognized that everything I had done it on the spirit of demonstrating some form of audaciousness, right? And it was through that I was able to propel and move forward. But that idea and that of going back and looking at your history and what can you take from that to kind of get you to a direction or at least see the patterns, right? And we're going to talk about patterns here in a second because while we have good patterns, so I was able to find some good patterns in my life to get me to the place I want to be and do this podcast, we also have negative patterns as well. And
exactly,
we got to be able to break those to move forward. I wonder if you sort of talk about some of that process of distinguishing the negative from the good and then moving forward with the good stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So with the patterns, I like to first start with their morning routine.
Okay.
So if we can have a morning routine that empowers you, you have more control of the day. Yes, life happens. Yes, BS happens. But if they can focus first on their morning routine pattern, what is their pattern? Do they wake up and drink water? Do they wake up and just scroll in their bed for 15 minutes and then they stress? Do they wake up and hit snooze 5 times and then their anxiety goes up 30 minutes later and they're in traffic and being reactive to everything? Whatever it is, but starting with their morning. Besides that, step 2 would be to look at what is my most common reaction to situations. If it is traffic, how do I normally react? They can write that down. If this program, CRM at work, gives me issues, what is my reaction usually? If this family member makes me uncomfortable, whatever it is, like if they can write down a list of scenarios and their reactions, they can start to just have clarity. Every human that can have more moments of clarity feels like they have more control. So they don't feel confused or everything is up in the air. But if they can be neutral with themselves and just write these things down, what is my morning process? Hey, I normally do this. You know what? I want to improve that. Perfect. Let's do that. We're not being self-judgmental. We're not putting ourselves down or anything like that. We're just like, hey, I'm not doing enough or I'm doing too much. I need to do less in my morning, whatever it is, just be neutral. And then on the flip side, write down all the scenarios you could think of in regards to how you react. You might react in a positive way. You might react neutral, or you might react in a negative way where you're like, I give these people way too much energy. Like they have control of my reaction and I'm angry for 2 hours straight. So I would first look at that, their morning routine and their reactions to things, and then ask themselves, what improvements can I make? And are there things that I can eliminate? Eliminate, it could start with what they eat, what they drink, maybe what they consume on social media. Like some people, like an example could be, I have an adopted rescue pit bull. I love adopted rescue dogs. But if I wake up and I'm looking at those pages of dog shelters, like I'm just going to be in an emotional state. Like I'm not going to look at that stuff because I'm not going to plant those sad seeds in my head by 7 a.m. So I'm using that specific example because we don't have total control of what we're going to see when we open up these apps. You might see a shelter video or you might see an empowerment video. But if they can be hyper aware and intentional about what they do, they feel like they have more control rather than just reacting to everything. But yeah, so going back to your question is if they can first look at their routine and their pattern of their morning, and most important, their pattern to their auto response to things, because if somebody has control over their response, they have control of them. So it's kind of like that holiday get together. You go to that person's house, you're like, ooh, within the first 10 minutes, I'm going to feel that elephant in the room. We're going to do these little fake happy smiles. Great to see you. Happy Thanksgiving. And 10 minutes later, you're like, they're about to ask me about something when I was 16. Like, here it goes. In that moment, what is your reaction to Uncle Jimmy or Auntie Michelle, like whoever it is? Because they know how to make you irk. Same thing with our coworkers, with customers and clients. Like they know how to push those buttons. So if we can control our reaction, we can feel better because nobody else has control of our mood, our emotions, and our mental state.
I love it. I love Derick. I just sort of love the overall approach, and I agree with respect to controlling our reaction and not giving it away, because that's really essentially what we're doing when we
Oh
react
yeah.
to situations. So I'm so impressed with Derick, what keeps you going, what motivates you, man? Because this is like, again, I love the messaging, I love what you're doing. There's certainly tying around the health and fitness and the work there. What is that keeps you going?
So because of my past experience, I like to go into dark scenarios to
Okay.
push me harder than ever. I'm not saying
Mm,
this is for everyone. So, like, here's an example. I challenge people to learn their family history.
okay.
So, in the moment that I don't feel like doing something,
Okay.
I tell myself out loud and in my head, people depend on me. People depend on me. When I say it, I'm getting chills on my arm because I do this all the time. And
Mm,
so, what I mean by that is I get up and I take care of my body and mind first so I can show up and flow frequently to help empower people. If not, people are going to feel my energy. They're going to ask me, hey, man, what's wrong? What's wrong? Or they might feel some aggression or anything like that. I want to make sure I show up in a good state no matter what's happening in life.
yep.
So that being said, is the first thing is saying to yourself, people depend on me. The second thing is I don't do this as frequent, but if I need to, if that's not working, I think of my great great grandpa on my dad's side in Mississippi during that time period. We know the history in that state, being African American male. And then I also think of my Oma, which is my grandma in Germany.
Yeah.
She survived the Holocaust and she was hiding in the attic. So,
Mhm.
what I do in the moment that I don't feel like doing something, I think of both of them. And then I say, they survived and went through hell for me to be here. And then my present moment makes my situation, whatever's stressing me, whatever's bothering me, makes it almost disappear because I'm like, look, I'm blessed. They went through that for me to be here. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And so sometimes that mental shift in perspective, and again, I'm not pretending this current stress or whatever's happened doesn't exist, but it's more so like it would be a slap in the face if I didn't show up and do my best, no matter how I'm feeling, because I'm going to be letting them down. Like they didn't go through that for me to be here just to
Yeah.
complain about slow Wi-Fi or to just not show up because I don't feel like it.
Yeah. No,
So that's just something that always worked for me. So number one, people depend on me. Number two, I think of family that went through dark things that if they didn't go through that, I wouldn't even be alive.
gotcha.
So it just makes me more grateful for the present moment. And then I just kind of laugh at the stress that I had. So going back to what I mentioned an hour earlier, I could have been annoyed, sad, whatever. And then an hour later, I feel empowered, positive. I'm thanking God. I'm like, I just had an emotional roller coaster within an hour, but hey, I'm here.
I see. No, listen. You're absolutely right. I love the going back to the family history. You know, the point as you're talking about your morning routine, the point I chuckled at is so my morning routines is I get up and I take a moment, meditate and pray. But one of the things that I like to do, I like to create content first thing in the morning. Like, and it's
Nice.
content created for my podcast and my work. And I do some men's coaching as well, relationship life coaching, and so I like to do work related to that because I think that's because the nature of the messaging is really about that again they're all tied to that audacious spirit. To me, that's a great way to start the day, and
Oh, yeah.
that's how I approach it. And it's funny, and that's oftentimes when I put content on social media, I create content, and people go, "Well, no, you got to look at the algorithm, the timing," and I don't care about that stuff. I just want to put it out there
Good.
because as much as I'm doing it for other people, I'm also benefiting from it as well. And it is, and it feels like a great springboard to start my day. And so that's one of my approaches. But I do agree that how you do that and when they're so important. Um,
Definitely.
yeah. No, I wanted to go back to a point. I know earlier you sort of talked about your upbringing, and you did talk about how you're having being a mix between your mother and your mother was from German and your father from Mississippi. The challenges inherent to being a mixed child. Is
Yeah.
that something that you also had to deal with growing up?
Yeah, for sure. So we moved to the States when I was in second grade. So kindergarten, all that, I was at German schools and also at schools on bases.
Okay.
And once we moved to Florida, I was excited and all that. And then I got to school and then I had the reality check being in the South, being mixed. And like I was ready. I was like, whatever. I'm here to play basketball, get good grades, and just
Right.
learn. And I'm in America. I was just excited to be in America. Things are
Right.
bigger. And I'm like, oh yeah. And it was a different concept. And then from there, I got to school and I realized that I had to prove myself. And I was like, huh, this is interesting because I didn't experience that in Germany. Not saying that racism doesn't exist in other states or other countries, I mean, but in that moment, I was like, okay, this is interesting. I'm in the South. I'm in the panhandle of Florida, which is Floribama. You're 15 minutes from Alabama. So some people's mentalities are smaller. It is what it is. But with that being said, I love the South, but also in that time period, I was like, you know what? The only way for me to enjoy these sports is if I prove myself that just because I might be light skinned, quote unquote, or mixed or be from another place, like that doesn't mean anything. So I had to stand up to the bully in middle school. And I knew that I had to use my experience of martial arts to physically do something one time. And after that, they wouldn't mess with me anymore. So I stood up to the bully for myself, but also for my friends that were also bullied. Had to bust his nose one good time. But from there, they were like, all right, this dude's not soft, quote unquote. Right. In my head, I'm like, this is stupid. Why do I even have to do this? But I had to do it on the basketball court. And then from there was like a mutual respect. And psychologically, I was like, one, this is stupid. Two, this is interesting. Three, this is going to be a much better year because this happened. Right. So it was like all these three different angles. But yes, so having to prove yourself in sports, you do have to do that a couple of times. Some other cultures might experience it as well, where they're like, hey, the white guy is not soft. The girl on the basketball team, she's not soft. Like they got to prove themselves. Yes. But that's definitely what I realized, that I had to prove myself more so to my own people. So it really wasn't issues with white people or the Asians or Hispanics. It was more so like the brothers are like, hey, who's this dude looking like young Michael Jackson? Like he's soft, like a little light-skinned boy. So yeah, so in that moment, they're like, all right, he's tough. He's not scared. I respect him. He respects us. Cool. And then from there, some of us became friends. But that was definitely the experience that I noticed. It was a culture shock at first because I didn't know what to expect. But with that being said, is once you show mutual respect to whoever it is, there's always going to be that respect. Even if you don't like each other, you're just like, hey, we respect it. We're here to play ball. We're here to get to work, whatever the scenario is. But I never took it personal. I just always saw the bigger vision in the long term, where I said, he, she, my parents, whoever, nobody's going to have control of my mental state. If I need to do something in the moment, it's going to be a quick jolt. And then from there, I'm going to be able to control the outcome. So not giving people the reaction that they expect. That was always like a challenge I gave to myself. They expect me to be scared, timid. Parents expect me to hide in the room while they're yelling. One day I just woke up and I said, enough is enough. I'm not living scared and nobody's going to control me or control my mind. I'm in control. I'm here for a reason, and God has everyone here for a reason. I'm going to dominate my path. So something shifted and I just went all in.
I love it. I love it. How your experience in your childhood helped you in the military?
So with both parents being very strict and definitely having like 300 plus nights of the year where after a great cookout or a great day of sales or whatever they were doing, they would like drink a lot at night. And once the crowd left, they would erupt. So by facing so many nights of them screaming, yelling, being punched, thrown in the corner, like all those different things you experience, it made the military a walk in the park. So when I was 18 and in basic training and 7 drill sergeants were in my face, I almost busted out laughing. Because I'm like, you don't have anything on my 6'4" dad or my 5'5" German mom. She would take all of you out. Like, they don't know the rage of a short German, small, drunk woman. Like, so I was like, this is nothing. Like, get out of my face. So the positive was it made the military much easier. So when it came to stressful situations, I would thrive in those situations because I more so saw it as a challenge. And I also would laugh in my head because I would say, wow, all of this in the home was preparing me for sports, preparing me for the military, preparing me for any life scenarios of traumatic experiences. I was always calm and focused. And I thought from a faith level, I'm here to take control so I can lead my soldiers, lead my friends out of danger when we're in public, lead this family on the airplane to the back if something's happening, where I always felt like, not that I always wanted to be the superhero per se, but somebody has to step up, and I always felt empowered to be that individual. So it was always interesting because in the moment when anything was happening, the child would pop in. I was like, that's funny. All those years of this has me here now. I'm totally calm. Everybody else is panicking or peeing on themselves, and I'm just here and I'm going to take lead. But it was always interesting. So definitely the upbringing prepared me for life situations in the military, in battle, in fights, or just in public in general. Like, the world's a little bit crazy right now. So anytime somebody does something, I always try to make sure to read the room. I scan the room, and then I give people that acknowledgement, like, hey, if things pop off, I'm going to do what I can to help take care of everyone.
And again, Derick, why I love that, and we touched on it earlier, but learning from your past situations, right? That's exactly
Oh
what you
yeah,
did. And so when you face something, you're like, yeah, I've been here before. I know exactly what to do, because either I know exactly what to do, because either I did achieve and I was successful, or I
yeah,
didn't, but I got the lesson and now I know what to do next. Right. So
exactly.
and I think when you keep that perspective, that really helps you prepare for any situation that you come across. They're never gonna be ideal and exact, but they
Yeah.
certainly are gonna be very similar, and they're gonna mirror, and it's gonna oftentimes evoke the reaction necessary to get through the other side. And so that's what I'm hearing loud and clear.
Oh yeah. And the last thing on that is also want to challenge just people to put themselves more in uncomfortable situations, as in a harder workout, a longer workout, an extra email, extra phone calls, another mile on their walk, whatever it is, they have to push themselves out of their comfort zone, because
Yes.
all you're doing is preparing for when life does happen, you will make better decisions.
Yeah.
Because a huge issue with most people in society, they never step out of their comfort zone to push their mind or their body past old thresholds,
Yes.
that when real anxiety, stress, or like financial issues happen in business, or if with family, somebody needs a surgery, their dog needs, their child needs it, like, what are they going to do in that moment? If they've put themselves under stressful situations when it comes to physical tests and mental tests, they'll be much more calm, opposed to like something happening and they almost panic. That individual will feel much more in control. And the best part of that, people will feel that that family member, that leader, the manager, whoever that person is to the others, they feel that level of calmness where they're like, wait, he's not freaking out. I guess we're going to be good. Let's keep coasting.
Yeah.
And it's interesting what happens, but usually that person, one, yes, they could have had trauma. Two, they could just push themselves all the time. And three, they could be doing both. But I feel like if somebody didn't have the trauma, they can at least instill, I don't want to say instill pain on themselves, but put themselves in stressful situations in regards to hard workouts or difficult mental tests, like facing their fears, things of that nature, because in those life moments, personal, career, or business, they'll make better decisions.
Yeah, no, I love the idea of pushing past your limits, right? An old
Oh,
threshold
yeah.
is a great line. I was at the gym a couple nights ago, a buddy of mine, you'd appreciate this. And I'm ready to be over. And he's like, "Oh, let's put another plate on." And I'm like, "Oh, come on, man." And, and so I get it. And you're right. At the end, you feel, you get past that because it's important and it makes you better. But the word I oftentimes like to use is it equips you and it gets you ready, because
Yes.
we are going to run into situations that are, because that's what life is, right? We're going to run into situations that are hard, that are tough, and we didn't expect. So doing all these things now equip us for what's to come. And no, we don't know what that is. We don't get there's no alarm, there's no
Yeah.
agenda, there's nothing that says, okay, guys, the tough times are now. They just show up. And so we've just got to be ready. And so that's what I'm hearing loud and clear when we talk about pushing ourselves past old thresholds.
Oh, yeah.
Derick, I gotta ask, given sort of the challenge you had growing up, and what you did to get through them, and coming to that point, right? Because I think that coming to that point of awareness is huge, and I definitely heard that from you. What did your relationship, like your parents, what did that end up being like?
So growing up, we were close until I guess they went through their own trials, and I was 11 when that first started. And then throughout middle school and high school, it more so got very distant.
Yep.
And like I was that teen for a few years that had like inner rage and anger. I was not violent to anybody else, but it was just more so like I'll, I'll be blunt. I was listening to Eminem a lot and like 50
Yep.
Cent, like all these artists. I was like, I related to the relationship they have with
Enough
their mothers
said.
or their moms. And I was just like, I would take it out in the gym and then I would just be calm and help
Right.
people all day
Right.
long. But I
Right.
would like have this vision. I was like, I'm going to become successful. I'm going to get a bag of money. I'm going to come back and I'm going to drop this duffel bag in their living room and say whatever was on my mind. And that was young, immature, raging,
Sure.
anger,
Sure.
teenage mentality. And I realized that I would say in college it shifted more so to say, you know what, when I do see them again, like I haven't seen them in years, but I just had to distance myself from a lot of family to focus on my own well-being, but also on business. So that way nothing was an interrupter. So the past spilling into the current was irrelevant. So one of the best things that I did for myself 6 years ago, I actually changed my phone number. I'm not telling people to cut off their family, but it was more so for my own mental health. It was the
Yep.
best thing that I did.
Yep.
The reason why I would get drunk texts, paragraph texts, and I mean like 30 at a time at random hours of the day.
Right.
Also, endless voicemails. So if you're on a sales call, on a coaching call, trying to study, doing whatever, and then it pops up and you see it's one of your parents and you know what it is, it's going to throw you off for a moment. Like,
you're right.
You can only play it off so long if it's happening frequently. So that
right.
decision was for my own mental health, one. And two, it was so I can go all out to help more people with the business. And everything started coming together because I had no interruptions. But it was more so I had to draw the line to put a boundary to say, I will no longer let this past stuff spill into the now, into the present moment. I need to distance myself. And then from there, when I do go back, the old mentality was show up with a duffel bag of cash and say, screw you. But the other side now, the more mature and wise, is going to walk in and say, hey, I love to rekindle our relationship, but first I would like you both to sit down. And then from there, I'm going to go to my website and I just want them to watch all these different testimonial videos. And what they'll realize is that there's some of their old friends that became clients as well. Wow. And so it isn't like a middle finger towards them. It's more so like, hey, I'm here for a reason. So everything we went through, I'm able to help people in a deep way. I just want you guys to see I didn't make a mistake getting out of the military. This is my passion. Now, can we have a normal conversation instead of saying, hey, you should have did this, you should have stayed in the army, blah. Before we do all that, here's the proof. Instead of letting me talk, let them speak for it. What can we do from here? So I see it more so in that because nowadays I don't allow anything or anyone to drain me or to make me mad more than 5 minutes. I give myself a 5-minute window. I'm still human, but So I challenge people to say, how can I come back up or come back down within 5 to 10 minutes? As in whatever that emotion is. If you're too low, if you're too high, the intent is to be that smooth wave. The individual that's calm and in control and confident, they always make the best decisions. When we're too high, that's when we start slacking because we're too excited for too many days. And you're like, oh, I haven't gotten much work done. Or if you're too low, people are going to feel that. So that's how the relationship is right now. There's no anger or anything. It's more so I had to distance myself a few years to go all out on my purpose. And everything's come together. So definitely this year planning to surprise them and go from there. And I feel it'll go well. If it doesn't, I'm not going to feel any resentment. It's more so like, hey, I did my part. So I'm not one to hold grudges or anything like that because everything that happened in your past and my past has us here in the spot that we're supposed to be in.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I really do. I appreciate that. It's a powerful.
Yeah, no problem.
It's not a powerful story, but I think it's a powerful lesson that can be taken from that. So again, thank you for the candidness and thank you for taking the time today, Derick. This has been awesome.
No problem. I appreciate you having me.
No, this is good. You know, again, in sort of my world, and I do a little life coaching as well. We talk about sort of a lot of things that you and I touched on, and how we can be brave. And I use brave as an acronym in our relationships, right? So the B is for boundaries, and boundaries are very, very important. Heard you talk about the boundaries that you established with your parents. Responsibility, because we all have we all play a part in whatever is going on. When I say relationships, it's not just our significant other, our partners, girlfriend, boyfriend. It's all of our relationships. We have a responsibility in nurturing and helping that to grow. A is for acceptance, and really about accepting of where we're at, and the reality of our situation, so to speak. V, vulnerability, right? There's we got to open up a little bit and be vulnerable to make those deep rooted connections. And the E is esteem, and really about our personal well-being and how we show up in the relationships and that we experience. But again, I say that because we have to be brave and step forward and be the person we're supposed to be. And so
I love that.
I can hear, I hear all of that and what you've shared today. And so thank you for that. Thank you for being here. For our listeners who want to learn more about you or catch up with you or maybe get involved with coaching or some degree, where can we send them?
Yeah, for sure. So the coaching website would be fitwithderick.com. Fit with Derick, Derick, the correct spelling of Derick.com. So you got to throw that out there. Somebody might search something. I don't know what pops up if somebody misspells Derick, but
many people spell oddly with an O, so I get it, man.
Oh yeah. But yeah, and on social media, it's Fit with Derick with the number 2. My whole intent with social media is to make people think and to make them uncomfortable, but to be that friend that calls them out so they stop wasting their potential. That's all it is. Wow. I'm that one person that's in their pocket that's like, you know what? If I don't feel like doing something, I could look at one of his videos and I'm going to go harder. I'm not for everyone, but I'm definitely the person that'll help people go harder on what they do, because I feel like we're all here to become better men and women, to give that man or woman to the world. Do what you can to become the person that you'd be proud of and give that individual to the world, because I feel like, hey, we're all here for a reason. Get through your pain, get through your trauma, go through it, teach people how you did it or show people how you did it, and then try to empower others, because it should all come full circle in a positive way.
I love it. Derick, that's awesome. Again, congratulations on the work, the personal
I appreciate
work.
it, Audley.
I don't get all the work that you've done professionally. It's been fantastic. Appreciate you taking the time today, and all the best, my friend. Keep up the great work.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's keep being audacious.
Got it. I love it. Back, we are here on the podcast. So much thanks and appreciation goes out to Derick for being here and sharing his journey of overcoming past trauma, and then how he used it as a catalyst to propel himself forward to a higher level of personal growth and development. Again, Derick, thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate so much of our conversation. But if there's one thing I take from the chat that we had, it'd have to be this. Life is full of challenges, and at some point, most of us have experienced the pain and trauma that's left a lasting impact on our lives. The scars of the past can be deep and enduring, but they can also serve as a powerful source of strength as well as resilience. By acknowledging and harnessing our past pain and trauma, we can propel ourselves forward, transforming adversity into a catalyst for personal growth and positive change. The first step in using pain and trauma to propel ourselves forward is to acknowledge its existence. It's important to recognize that everyone experiences pain and trauma very, very differently. And we're all unique in that regard, and there's no universal timeline for healing. So it's okay to feel the pain and to take time that you need to process and heal from it. When we deny or repress these experiences, they can lead to prolonged suffering and hinder our overall personal growth. Once we acknowledge our past pain and trauma, we can begin to explore the lessons that they hold. Adversity oftentimes provides profound insights and wisdom that can shape our character and worldview. By reflecting on our experiences, we can gain a deeper understanding of ourselves, as well as the world around us. This self-awareness can be a powerful tool for personal development and help us navigate future challenges with greater resilience and wisdom. One of the most significant benefits of using past pain and trauma to propel ourselves forward is the development of our own personal resilience. Overcoming adversity can fortify our inner strength and equip us with the tools to face future hardships. By confronting and working through our pain, we can cultivate resilience that empowers us to persevere in the face of these new challenges. This resilience is a valuable asset that can help us navigate life's inevitable ups and downs. Experiencing pain and trauma can cultivate empathy and compassion for others who are going through similar struggles. When we use our own experiences to connect and support with others, we're not only helping them to find a deeper meaning in our own journey. By reaching out to those in need, we can turn our past pain into a source of empathy and understanding, fostering a sense of community and interconnectedness. While the journey of healing from past pain and trauma is not an easy one, it can lead to a profound level of growth and personal transformation. By acknowledging experiences, learning from them, and building resilience, we can harness the power of our past to propel ourselves forward. Our pain can become a source of strength, empathy, and purpose, shaping us into more resilient, compassionate, and purpose-driven individuals. As we embrace our past pains and use those as catalysts for positive change, we can find hope and inspiration in our ability to overcome adversity and thrive very audaciously. We've sadly come to the end of another episode of the most audacious podcast the internet has to offer. And as always, I send my thanks and appreciation to all those lovers of audaciousness for their tremendous ongoing support. It means so much. And for that, I say thank you. Until next time, stay safe, be kind, show love to one another, and be audacious.
You've been listening to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by Audley Stevenson. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, be audacious.